It takes the right skills and the right innovation to design and manage meaningful print marketing solutions. Welcome to Podcasts from the Printerverse, where we explore all facets of print and marketing that create meaningful communications and business success. Now, here's your host, the intergalactic ambassador to the Printerverse, Deborah Korn.
Hey everybody, Deborah Korn here at the Association for Print Technologies, talking to Debbie Orff. Another Debbie. You're Debbie.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
a Debbie up until I was in college, and they started calling me Deborah. Debbie, what do you do here at the Association for Print Technologies?
I am the Senior Director, ICC and Standards. That means that I direct all of our standards programs here.
Like the color management thing, like the ICC?
ICC, color management.
You're the profile lady?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God, that's freaky. I didn't realize that. So that's what you mean by standards and programs?
Yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes. Our standards programs are developed around a need that we're aware of. We know that organizations who participate in standards development have a competitive edge. They gain insider knowledge, they have first access to information, and they can exert influence on technical content that may affect their businesses that actually go into the printed standards. We also know that standards ensure that products manufactured in one country can be sold and used in another. So both national and international standards are very important in that regard. NPES has been a standards developing organization since first being accredited by the American National Standards Institute in 1980. We believe that has been one of the best kept secrets in the industry. We developed this program for the good of the industry, not as a moneymaker. It has never been a moneymaker. We've worked very hard to create the committees that we have in place. The Association for Print Technologies will continue this tradition of supporting the printing industry by maintaining a strong presence in the standards development.
So can I just stop you there for a second?
Sure.
What is standards development? Like, let's really start. Let's break it down to, assuming like me, I have people out there who have no idea what you're talking about. So what is standards development, and how would a company get involved with it?
Well, printing standards create the requirements for manufacturers to develop their products so that they can be sold internationally, so that all of their users can comply to standards. In the area of safety standards, this is very important. For instance, when OSHA comes in to visit, you want to be able to say that you comply with all of the safety standards. And NPES has a safety committee called B65 that has been developing safety standards since 1980. Many of our safety standards and technical standards developed nationally have been moved into the international arena through ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, and are now international standards.
Right. See, I didn't even know what that meant. I just always hear people talking about it. So this is really interesting. Now you keep saying NPES, but is that going to stay NPES, or is that going to be Association Print Technology?
Well, that's a great question. And I say NPES because NPES has been very heavily involved in standards development and has created a number of national committees and international committees. The Association for Print Technologies is going to continue this, is taking over. All we're doing is changing our name. We're going to continue our strong presence in standards development. For instance, we have 2 ANSI-accredited committees that create national standards. As I mentioned before, B65 creates safety standards. The CGATS committee creates technical standards. We also administer 9 working groups and task forces under TC130, which is the technical committee in ISO that develops standards for the printing industry. We know that the future printing is driven by the work being done in ISO TC130, and some of the work here has been developed and published first by our committees, B65 and CGATS.
So lots of initials. You could probably see like my eyes are glazing over because I'm not really a technical person. So I'm just hoping all the listeners know what you're talking about. But if they don't, if there's someone like me, let's break this down to why this matters. So try to like take your technical hat off. I know it's hard because you're a technical person, but in the most layman's terms, what did you just say?
Well, we do love our acronyms and standards. In the national arena, B65 it's an acronym that stands for itself. It develops national safety standards.
Okay.
In this regard, we create standards for manufacturers of printing presses so that they can adhere to all of the safety requirements that are required by OSHA.
So no one's hands get chopped off when they stick their hand in the press, so nobody falls on the press floor, that kind of stuff.
All of the emergency stop buttons are in the right places. All of the barriers.
Eye washes and all that stuff.
That keep people from crawling into their presses and being injured horribly.
Okay.
These are the requirements that we build into these standards. CGATS is the Committee for Graphic Arts Technology Standards.
Okay.
So
CGATS, so CGATS.
The Committee for Graphic Arts Technological Standards.
Okay, cool.
This committee creates standards in the technical area of process control, of pre-press imaging, inks, plates, finishing, everything along the entire workflow of the printing process. We develop standards for each part of that workflow.
The Association for Print Technologies, formerly known as NPES, is pleased to present for the industry value chain, actionable information, and news you can use through Print Media Center's podcasts from the Printerverse. The Association for Print Technologies is dedicated to supporting the growth of the printing value chain. APTech's signature annual industry event, Print, answers the call this fall, September 30th through October 2nd, 2018, at Chicago's McCormick Place. Learn how and more about other APTech events, programs, and services at printtechnologies.org. That's printtechnologies.org.
What are some of the reasons why these standards are important? How do they get developed, and what is the outcome that you're hoping will be the result of them?
The standards are important because products that are manufactured in one country, you want them to be able to be sold and used in another country. This requires standardization. So
that, for example, a big soda company's red would be that same red all over the planet.
Yes, and that is the goal of standards. Mm-hmm. So if a company is complying with the standard, and one of our goals is to see that everyone in the supply chain actually complies with the same standards, that is what's going to happen from the beginning to the end.
But your job is not to police that, just to provide it, correct?
My job is to provide a forum for the industry experts who actually know about what you and I are just discussing,
right,
to get together and to develop the standards and the requirements. They write the requirements. I record them in the minutes.
I got it.
I have a little bit of information,
right,
a little bit of education based on that, but the technical knowledge comes from the experts that we have as part of our working groups.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Let's talk a little bit of the working groups and the committees that you are organizing.
Okay. As I said before, we have two groups that develop national standards. Those are committees that work domestically in the U.S. We develop ANSI standards. That's the American National Standards Institute. We are accredited by ANSI to be a standards developer. We are the only organization in the United States that is producing ANSI accredited standards for the printing industry. We are also accredited by ANSI to administer working groups within TC 130. This is where we develop international standards. And when we meet twice a year, and this is a gathering of standards experts from all around the world, globally. They all get together. We work on we discuss the documents that they have they're currently being developed within ISO TC 130, and then we send them out for ballot. They go out to every single national body, and every country has their own vote based on
whether or not they want to adopt it.
Exactly.
How cool!
It goes, and standardization is it's a very precise process that is developed by ISO, that every document goes through a series of stages of development, starting out as a working draft that is developed within one working group. And then once it's ready to move on, it becomes a committee draft, which is then seen by every national body. And then it moves through 2 more stages of development to be sure that everyone has a chance to look at and be able to comment on the development of the final product. This is where experts have the opportunity to exert influence that can affect their businesses and their organizations.
Now, we're sitting in America, but we're talking about a global standard. So are other countries and other manufacturers involved in these standards too, or are we creating them and then saying, do you guys want to adopt them?
No, they are our national standards we create in the U.S. International standards, we participate in the development of the international standards. We in the U.S., we have a group called the U.S. TAG, which is the U.S. Technical Advisory Group. The Association for Print Technologies is also accredited to administer this group. And as such, we gather together twice a year before the international meetings, and we develop the U.S. position on every document that's going to be discussed that is currently in ballot. And then when we go to the international meeting, our group of experts that represents the U.S. presents the U.S. position, and then we vote accordingly.
Is that the International Color Consortium that you're referring to?
No, that's a completely different organization.
Okay, well, I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I want to be in a consortium now, I've decided. So tell me a little bit about that, because that's in your talking point notes,
Yes.
and I've been a little fixated on the consortium aspect.
The International Color Consortium is an organization that was established, as their website says, for creating and promoting and standardizing an open, vendor-neutral, cross-platform color management system. And what that means is this ensures that the color you see on your color monitor is the color that you see on a printed product.
Okay, you and I can argue about that.
We can argue about that.
But that's what they say. So we'll just say that that's what they say.
But in order for this to occur, you have to use the ICC spec. The result of their consortium was the ICC specification that has now been published and is available as an ISO standard. The ICC, the International Color Consortium, is better known as the ICC, and they continue to update their specification based on changes in technology and software. The latest version of their specification is called ICC Max, and this is a software application that will be the focus of their next developers conference, which is happening in 2018.
The Association for Print Technologies Research Unit, Premier, provides leading-edge market research and statistics, tracking the vital data and trends across the printing and imaging value chain. Learn more at printtechnologies.org. That's printtechnologies.org.
What is the Brand Owners Council?
The Brand Owners Council is a forum that was created that we created as part of our strategic plan. We developed it as a place for brand owners to get together to discuss and develop best practices for the packaging industry.
And how are you defining brand owners?
We have 16 members currently. Brand owners, the current brand owners that we have are, for instance, Coca-Cola, Diageo, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, 3M, PepsiCo. Yes, the big brands. And they, as I said, we currently have 16 members. The group continues to grow.
That's awesome.
It does. And they meet once a month. They have been meeting once a month for over a year now. And their goal is to align the workflow of their supply chain partners and their business partners so that everyone in the supply chain is complying with the same standards, which will result in saving time and resources because it will provide requirements and evaluation criteria to everyone in the supply chain in a common language that everyone can understand.
Do you go to those meetings?
I facilitate those meetings. We have teleconferences once a month, and we did have a face-to-face meeting at the last print show in Chicago, and we presented a schema that had been developed by this group that is actually a roadmap detailing all of the standards that they recommend that everyone comply with in order to achieve what's needed in the different. They broke it down into categories. Lighting. They recommend ISO 3664 be complied to with for people who are concerned with lighting in that part of the workflow. So they did quite a bit of work on this schema.
What is your overall feeling that these brands have about print, do you think?
Oh, well.
I mean, you have direct contact with the people that these companies you just named. People will probably kill you to get to them. So now I'm going to data mine you a little bit. What are they talking about print? What are their problems? If someone was listening to this, a printer out there, what is something maybe they could do to address a common issue a brand feels that they're having with the print industry?
I think that one of their main concerns is getting the information out to their print service providers, getting the information about complying with specific standards. This is very important to them.
Right, that's such a good point.
That everyone, and if everyone is on the same page, then if they want to be able to.
It's trust. It sounds like it's a trust issue.
Well, and it's a communication issue
right.
as well. They want to be able to communicate their needs
right.
to their print service providers, and then have their service providers provide the data to them that they need in order to
prove that the standard is adhered to.
Exactly. And we actually do have 2 new standards that we're developing in TC 130 right now that is going to address exactly those issues. This was something that we discussed on our last teleconference.
That's amazing. I mean, are you like you and Reka might be the best kept secrets in print? Didn't even realize that there was this brand owners council.
Yes.
Is this a popular thing?
It's becoming more popular with the brand owners themselves.
Yes.
And one of our goals was to get brand owners talking to each other. Insofar as so that they can share the information and their needs with each other, which will help us to provide that information to supply chains. This is something that will help in building the tools that are needed for different parts of the supply chain to go back and provide the brand owners with the needs that. With a printed product that they're looking for.
What is something that's come out of this Brand Owners Council over the past that people might be familiar with?
Well, it's such a new group that I'm not sure that anyone would be familiar with the schema itself. The schema that was developed last year is and that's one of the focuses for next year.
Okay.
Is that we want to spend more time getting the word out. Right. We were about to publish the video that was made during the Print 17 meeting
awesome.
On YouTube. So
very cool.
that'll be one area that where people can get some information. And we plan on our goal in the coming year is to provide to pull from our pool of experts. We have access to so many of the leading experts in the printing industry in color management, color science, and safety. And our goal with the Brand Owner Council is to provide them with presentations from a number of these experts to give them a better idea of what's actually available.
Yeah. I mean, it would be such an amazing thing for everybody in the industry to hear directly from the brands themselves. I mean, everybody interprets for them and says this is what they want. And, but the fact that you get them all into a room actually talking about what they need from print and then delivering it back to them, I'm giving you a high five on the podcast because you're awesome. What is the Standards Advisory Group?
The Standards Advisory Group is another group that we formed as part of our strategic plan. This is made up of industry experts that we pulled from our committees, from our standards committees. The goal of the group one of the goals was to determine and improve current education and training. We have been told that the average age of a pressman in the printing industry or woman, thank you, is 56 years old. So we wanted to focus on getting some more information out to some younger people. We talked about possibly creating internships or just providing tours. One of our members, Fujifilm, provides a wonderful tour and an internship program that they've had a great deal of success with. So that was one of the things that we discussed. We also discussed using standards, how to get information out on using standards to attain sustainable growth and profitability, and to determine where the market is.
Like, can you give me an example of that? How would a standard help me in that way?
To attain sustainable growth? Well, for instance, we've developed a carbon footprint standard in the TC130. This is something that we believe would help to printers.
Especially the millennials, they like their carbon footprint release.
Yes, they do. And
wow, you're so cool.
We're also, now this is not part of the Standards Advisory Group. We're kind of going back to TC130
Yeah,
a little
sorry
bit.
about that.
But we also have a group in TC130 that's working on an e-media standard, which is very interesting. But so this group wants to take information like that and get it out to the printing industry as a whole, to help in that area, how to sustain growth and profitability. They also want to focus on profitability in the same regard. They also wanted to look at the market, determine where the market is going and how to bring value. In 2018, this group is planning on placing some articles in various printing publications and on social media, focused in these areas.
The Association for Print Technologies, formerly known as NPES, is a purpose-driven organization dedicated to supporting the entire printing value chain. We believe in helping our members maximize alignment with their value chain partners to be more effective and competitive. Learn more about our wide array of business-building resources, programs, and services at printtechnologies.org. That's printtechnologies.org.
So you've mentioned, information, education, videos. You guys do webinars? How can people learn more about this, and can they attend any of these meetings?
Oh, absolutely. The working groups that we have set up are open to anyone with an interest. Anyone, not just our members. Okay. Now, members, of course, are able to participate in a number of our committees and working groups, complimentary. As members, we do have fees associated with our U.S. tag group, and non-members will pay a nominal fee for participation. However, that doesn't mean that you can't participate if you can't pay. Everyone with an interest is open. Is welcome to participate. We do have a series of webinars planned for 2018. I think that we're, as a group, the association is planning on a regular series of webinars. As in the standards area of standards, we have a very large pool of experts that we plan to pull from in order to create webinars, some of which I already discussed. on color management, color science, and possibly safety, the area of safety. So.
Before we wrap this up, I'm a little obsessed with you at the moment.
Okay.
What is your background? Were you always in the print industry?
I have been in the printing industry for my entire career. I was fortunate enough in high school to go to a high school that had a printing program and had a printing press and it matters. It was really wonderful in order to. And then in college I studied photography and journalism. I ended up back in the printing industry as a typesetter for many years, and I actually, this is going to show my age, but the first print shop that I ever worked in actually had some people in the back room who were running a linotype, so they were working with hot lead. And I was a typesetter for many, many years. I started working for NPES 10 years ago. And I've loved it ever since. I fell in love with the standards, and
that's an odd thing to say. Are you a math person? Have you always been a math person? It's a little on the math side of things.
It's not, actually. I'm not a math person, and I am absolutely not a math person. And standards are. I know that standards, when you mention standards, a lot of people's eyes glaze over and they stop listening.
Taxes, yes,
if you attended a meeting of a TC-130 or one of our CGATs or US TAG meetings, you'd be amazed at the passion that the people have in the room for developing these standards. They will spend a lot of time just crafting a sentence or a paragraph to be sure that anyone who reads this will be able to understand it anywhere.
Well, I volunteer to be the guinea pig on that anytime you want. It's been really, really interesting talking to you. I really appreciate it, Debbie Orff. Do you have any final words for anybody listening to this podcast?
Well, I would just like to say that I'm very excited that the Association of Print Technologies has such a robust and healthy standards program already in place that we can continue to build on. And in our effort to see the industry attain growth and sustainability, which is part of our overall strategic plan for this association.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It was great, getting to have a conversation with you. And I also volunteer to join that Brand Owners Council.
Okay.
Anytime you need any help, I'm there. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
You've been listening to podcasts from the Printerverse. We'd love to hear your feedback on our shows and topics that are of interest for future broadcasts. Please connect with us through printmediacenter.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcasts for alerts on new shows. Until next time, thank you for joining us and listening to podcasts from the Printerverse. Print long and prosper.